From the 27th of December 2008 to the 18th of January 2009, Israeli forces launched a massive aerial and ground bombardment on Gaza in response to Hamas rocket fire towards southern Israel. I set out, as a member of a European Parliament mission, to view the damage caused during the war for myself and to try to assess whether there had been breaches of international humanitarian law during the recent hostilities. Having seen the extent of devastation to homes, schools and factories, it is evident that there was a disproportionate response on behalf of the Israeli Defense Forces to the initial Hamas provocation. With over 1,440 people killed on the Palestinian side, greater efforts should have been made to minimize civilian casualties. Nearly half of all fatalities were women and children. The economy of Gaza has almost shut down, with 98% of industrial operations now crushed.
We have a cooperation agreement with the Israeli company. We're backing in Israeli package. It's written by Hebrew. Right. And they know that it's the only factory. There was meaning to destroy it. If you come, you can see.
Is it physically possible to reconstruct it, or
actually it's gonna be hard, and I think quite dangerous.
So it's actually destabilized as well. It's actually up out of the ground.
Yeah. Actually, we need to cut this huge tank. We need to cut it and get it.
Okay, they get out from the tanks and they put the bomb around the columns. You can see it here.
The explosives in under, you see.
We want in the future from all the world, from all the friends in the world, to help us to have guarantees that if we rebuild these factories, no one will damage it. And we don't want to go out. We don't want to leave this country. If we leave it, we will face, all the world will face, not only us. Because the employment will be, today the employment is 90%. If we leave, the employment will be 100%, okay? The terrorists will be more, because the people wouldn't find to eat, okay? They have nothing to do. So when you don't have food for your children, when you don't have money, when your son or your daughter asks you for $1 and you couldn't get it to him, it's crazy. You can do anything.
In food distribution centres like the one we viewed in Jabalia refugee camp, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency are attempting to feed 900,000 refugees at the rate of 30,000 individuals per day.
This is the most affected area. We have more than 1,000 families displaced, who lost their shelters, lost their house, more than 1,000.
However, food is being impeded by Israeli authorities, as is other humanitarian aid. Israeli officials must expand their present definition of what they consider to be humanitarian, so that further necessities can be allowed through. There must be an immediate, unconditional reopening of all Gaza crossings.
You see, for example, here, the quantity of the ration is very clear on this slip, on the cabon. So milk, 1 kilo, sunflower 2 liters, luncheon meat 2 books, rice and sugar 3 kilos. When we distribute food assistance, we exclude UNRWA staff and Palestinian Authority staff, and another category we call it high income people. But this round, because of this difficult economical situation and the war, okay, Mr. Jong-un took a great decision, and he decided to distribute food assistance to all Palestinian refugees living in Gaza Strip. Except UNRWA staff, Mr. Jong-un decided just to provide them 2 flour bags.
We met with Irishman John Ging, Director of UNRWA Operations in Gaza.
Let's try to cut away the rhetoric and get down to the simple truths. There was a round of violence here for a number of weeks that was predicated on the premise that, yes, it's all about destroying the infrastructure of terror. However, let's look at what action was taken in pursuit of that stated agenda, stated policy. The American school was destroyed. It was destroyed under the banner of the infrastructure of terror being destroyed here in Gaza. And you can see it.
Fanatics from both sides, or the Israeli government and fanatics from the Palestinian, have agreed to target the same place. We have been targeted 3 times by militant group saying that we are so open, educating the kids in ways that they don't believe in, and therefore they targeted the school. They kidnapped once a teacher. And last time it has been targeted during ex-President George Bush to West Bank.
Here at UNRWA, my staff came back, came back to work from those who were in the education program after the fighting. Proud, very proud, that we had not lost any time in the development of our new human rights curriculum. A curriculum, by the way, that will teach the children the difference between legitimate resistance and illegitimate resistance. The reasons why it is so wrong to fire rockets into Israel. We're facing all of this down in our schools because we're trying to tackle the growth of extremism. And that's where it's at, the mindsets. We can talk all we like about the destruction of infrastructure and so on and so forth, but the biggest destruction is occurring in the mindsets of the people here. And they are minded at the moment to go the civilized path, but they are being pushed down another path by their circumstances. But to print those textbooks, we're not allowed to bring in the paper. You know, really. And so who's fighting extremism? And who is helping extremism? So many kids were killed, so let's focus on them. We don't have to talk about, whether it's 312 or 402. Hundreds of children are dead in 3 weeks. They were undisputably innocent. Nobody disputes that. Undisputably innocent children. For the mothers and fathers here, they want accountability for the deaths of their children. And they don't have to beg for it. They're entitled to it. Ultimately, it is the responsibility of the international community, of the high contracting parties to the Geneva Convention, to take effective action to ensure that there is accountability coming out of this conflict. If you're a mother and father and you've lost your child, how are we to hold them and say, hold on, there will be justice? Because their answer is, where? Where's the mechanism? The Israeli answer to the death of a child is, they were being used as human shields. So we have no accountability for that. Wrong. In the civilized world, we don't shoot the hostage to get the hostage taker. On the face of it, there is a case to be answered. And if there isn't credible accountability, then how are we going to say to the people here, don't go over to the way of getting your own justice? Because the preamble on the Universal Declaration concedes to that point. It has to come back to equality of the application of the rule of law. The people in Israel who were killed, the injuries, the destruction that occurred, no less standard of accountability is required for that than there is for what happened here. And it's actually the same standard. And that's where our challenge lies. How do we restore to this conflict confidence in an effective, credible mechanism for accountability? We're feeding 900,000 refugees at the moment. We're feeding them at the rate of 30,000 per day. We have the infrastructure here that can accommodate 3 or 4 times that rate, but we don't have the food. The fact of the matter is there's only one crossing point open today for the importation of supplies, whereas last year, in the same security environment, i.e. with Hamas in charge of Gaza, we had 2 crossing points open, which were wholly and totally inadequate, I can tell you, for the needs of the people, but there you are. And the result is that there are thousands of tons of food and other donated items sitting in Egypt, Jordan and in Ashdod port in Israel that cannot be connected with the people that you met today, be it food, be it medicine, be it clothes, be it whatever.